Welcome to Pimpy's Investment Chat, where we keep investment talk simple. And here's your host, Pimpy.
What is going on out there, peeps? All right, that's Miss Plasshart right there. She's from the United Nations. Her job is to monitor what's going on in Iraq at all times. This was the picture that was posted in the Iraq news today. But you got to wonder, how come they don't have any modern pictures of her? This must be from some event that happened back in 2016. Anyways, I saw that and I thought it was funny. But we're going to get into what she's saying that's happening over there in not only Iraq, but Kurdistan, and how this can affect a lot of what's going on in Erbil and Iraq. All right. Before we get started, hit the thumbs up button. If you're not a subscriber, please do so, because when you do, it helps out the channel, and I surely do appreciate it. If you're thinking about buying gold and silver, go to our friends over there at Money Metals Exchange. The link is down below in the description. If you are a first-time buyer and you spend more than $100, use promo code Pimpy, P-I-M-P-Y, and you'll get a free half ounce of silver. A few days ago, this article came out, which I thought was pretty interesting. It says Saudi Arabia warns that the world is running out of energy capacity. I've never seen these things. So Saudi's Prince bin Salman warned Tuesday that the world is running out of energy. Okay, that's an interesting warning, considering nobody's talking about a couple of huge, and I mean really big, oil reserves that were found in Iraq. I keep waiting for them, and I've been waiting for like the past year and a half to make the announcement. Now, I don't know if they're avoiding the announcement because Iraq's not exactly in a secured situation. They might be concerned that people would come over and steal from it or take control of it, whatever. Once they make this announcement about this oil discovery, then they'll easily move into, I believe, the number one position as far as oil reserves. Let's move on and see what the prince has to say. It says the amount of unused capacity that the world can tap to produce more energy products is running out, warned top oil ministries. So here's my thing. We all know that this whole World Economic Forum and this Great Reset is trying to push everybody into this Green New Deal. Ironically, the people that are going to be part of this, bureaucrats, they're allowed to go ahead and drive around a bunch of gas-guzzling planes and cars, while the rest of us are supposed to move to electricity. Now, my thing is, I think they're putting this aside, or they're starting to clamp down on access to certain resources so they can have them for their own greedy self. Because this announcement to me sounds like BS. We've been hearing this for years. Referring to the recent price spikes in refined products, Saudi's oil minister, the Prince bin Salman, said on Tuesday's conference, "I'm a dinosaur, but I have never seen these things. The world needs to wake up to an existing reality. The world is running out of energy capacity at all levels." So what does he mean by running out of energy capacity? Why don't you just say oil? Although the ironic thing about electricity is you need oil to create it. So although they want us to all move to electric cars, oil makes about 65% of the electricity that we use. Now that's funny. Prices for crude oil have surged more than 50% from a year ago to roughly $105 a barrel. So yeah, it's up there in expenses. But again, I can't help but feel with this whole Rona pandemic and what seems to be a fictitious war. Now I want you to take something in consideration. Russia has the second best military in the world. The second best. And supposedly that little tiny country of Ukraine is holding its own and even beating, in some cases, Russia's army. The truth of the matter is, if Russia wanted to, they could go over there and annihilate Ukraine in less than 2 weeks. What is with all this theater? I don't know, outside of the fact that this just looks like another scripted event put forth to us by the World Economic Forum as they continue to push us towards this great reset. So no, for some reason, I just don't believe this. I don't believe him. I don't believe this article. With everything that's going on and everything that we've learned over the last, 3-4 years, again, this thing just seems so sketchy. This doesn't even take in consideration the oil that we have access to that we can't get because they outlawed it here in our country. All right, anyways, there's our buddy, Christina Blackheart. They write her name down in so many different ways. She's talking about the up and coming elections that's going to happen in Kurdistan, as well as the political crisis that's happening over here in Baghdad. Over here, like I'm there, sorry. So, Ms. Plashart, the head of the United Nations Assistant Mission in Iraq, urged leaders in the Kurdistan region to bridge the political divide ahead of the October's parliamentary elections, stating divisions across party lines have only worsened over the past year. Plashart spoke out against the toxicity of the political infighting in the Kurdistan region during a briefing at the United Nations Council. She also expressed grave concern over the political deadlock in Baghdad, the security situation in regards to Turkey and Iran's armed incursions in Iraq territory, the recent hostilities in Sinjar, and the current tensions between Erbil and Iraq's federal government. To make matters even worse, they got a biased Supreme Court justice making life harder to function over there in Iraq. One thing that Ms. Plashart wanted to definitely stress was the fact that she wanted to make sure that in Kurdistan there was a level playing field for all political candidates. Ms. Plashart also said the dialogue between Baghdad and Erbil over the Kurdistan region's oil sales as a sorry pattern of ad hoc negotiations. Tensions renewed between the federal government and Erbil following the federal Supreme Court's verdict in February that ruled that Kurdistan's regional government's oil and gas law is unconstitutional. She went on to say that she had spoken with both sides over the issue and believed there was a way out, but insisted an institutionalized resolution was necessary. The lack of institutional mechanisms and internal rivalries on both sides hindered the resolution over Erbil and Baghdad's oil issue. Plus, adding Baghdad's failure to form a government 7 months after last year's elections has come at a steep price. Well, since the government hasn't been formed, it's allowed for excuses for non-state armed groups to fire rockets with apparent freedom and impunity. It excuses a political stalemate while ordinary people suffer. Responding to the situation in Sinjar, Plashart said that she continued to encourage the implementation of the Sinjar Agreement, which was signed in 2020. However, she insisted a stable government was necessary to take such steps that would allow displaced residents to return. A stable government. What did I say was one of the things that were necessary to take in consideration whenever a country considers changing its exchange rate? A stable government is one of those necessary things in order to change the exchange rate. Al-Kadhimi opening up, laying down the verbal beating on the political leaders. Says Al-Kadhimi launches a call to national leaders. We will not remain idly by. This has to be real frustrating. And you can see right here, just in a nutshell, what the law was that Al-Kadhimi wanted to pass. It said this law aims to secure food for citizens at subsidized price food rations, support the basic vital sectors, and support the electrical sector before the summer, so that we increase the production of electrical energy and do not occur cuts, support the energy sector in its various branches, and provide the basic needs of the people. Now, if you're going to be out there in the desert in the hot-ass summer days, the last thing you want to do is have no electricity. You need some air, a fan, an AC, something. There's been quite a few summers in which the people had no electricity. It doesn't allow for them to be very productive throughout the day if you're trying to run a business. Al-Kadhimi's trying to do what he can to just get the bare minimums done, but he had the courts interfere. I'm sure that the biased Supreme Court judge that's allies with the coordinating framework, people have got to see what's going on. I would be pissed, and I'd be rising up against the coordinating framework. Do you really want them in power when they're doing these types of stunts? Using their friendship as an advantage in courts to make the people of Iraq suffer so that they think the people will turn on Sadr to pressure him into giving in? I don't think that's going to happen. I think it's going to backfire. So this whole article is just Al-Kadhimi to open up saying, look, we're not going to sit idly by. We need to do something. We just can't sit here and do nothing. And this is great news, of course. Iraq's oil gas production to increase by 17 billion in coming years. That's more money to Iraq, more money to the government, to build more of the private sector, to get them less reliant on oil, to fund their budgets, giving them a secured economy. strengthening up the dinar. First, they got to straighten up the government, man. That's one of the things they got to do. Now, I do like this article. Al-Kadhimi's advisor, which is Saleh, the federal decision cut the way for the government to present the budget. So Saleh, who is the advisor to the prime minister, confirmed on Monday the decision of the federal Supreme Court to cancel the emergency support law for food security and development blocked the way for the caretaker government to submit a draft budget law 2022, while stressing that it will work hard to support food security until the approval of the budget. Slay went on to tell the news that it has become clear that it is not possible to proceed with any law before the executive authority completes its constitutional entity according to the results of the elections. It was not passed in accordance with the constitutional context, and from the government that was filtered by the results of the above election, that is, the request to the caretaker government to submit the draft federal budget law. So it seems to me like Al-Kadhimi is going to have to do whatever it takes to help support the people without violating any of the laws that are out there. I mean, the government's got to do something, man. Anyways, he said this delay in forming the government is obviously going to have a serious effect on their GDP because they can't fund the projects that they need to fund and fund the new ones because there's no existing government that has been formed, and the courts refuse to let the caretaker government do anything necessary to help the country move forward. So this is going to affect their future GDP if they can't get a government formed. Here we are halfway through May, and it's still not formed. Now, I want to go on to this particular article about what it is that Al-Kadhimi was saying, because this is really good. He said right here, the government carried out its duties and responsibilities with all of its capabilities and energies, and even tolerated defamation, lies, and fabrications for the sake of our people. We came with the primary goal of holding elections, and we succeeded at the time when many bet on our failure. We faced a corona epidemic and succeeded in that. Restore Iraq to its regional and international role and presence, and we succeeded in that. We came to avoid a massive economic catastrophe to which the failed policies of those who accuse us today of failure led. We saved the economy from collapse and bankruptcy and turned it into indicators that record global growth. We did not allow Iraq to be mortgaged to economic backwardness and financial deficit, and we were able to raise the cash reserves significantly. Iraq is setting its foot on the right path economically, and we have set our feet on the right path in our regional and international positioning, as well as the process of organizing the security forces, and we must build on what we have achieved, strengthen and develop it. And that the Minister of Finance reviewed before me yesterday the indicators of Iraq's economic growth, which all international economic centers refer to it. And it is enough to deny and falsify facts and manipulate people's feelings. For the numbers bode well, and this was achieved by the efforts of this government, which turned every threat into an opportunity for the benefit of the Iraqi people. And in every threat, we saw an opportunity to serve its citizens. He also pointed out with all the challenges, this government has not left the citizens and will not leave them. There are difficult and complex circumstances that the world is currently witnessing, and they are reflected in everything on energy and commodity prices. And there are transformations taking place in the region and the economics of countries that have collapsed. But Iraq is still standing, and we will continue and be strong. In the absence of a general budget due to the delay in forming a government, we worked on the Emergency Food Security Support Law to provide the minimum needs to the people in light of the global food crisis. Yeah, again, you guys, this global food crisis, this is happening around the world. I did a video in which I told you guys they're burning food processing plants around the world. Yeah, their goal is to starve as many people as possible. So it wasn't just the Rona that they're using to wipe people out, also the lack of food. He went on to also say, and the summer is coming, and we need to provide fuel for our electric stations. He said that the law aims to secure food for citizens at subsidized prices, food ration, support basic vital sectors, and support the electric sector before the summer so that we increase the production of electric energy and do not take out cuts. Support the energy sector in its various branches and provide the basic needs of the people. Despite all this, we will continue to work vigorously and search for alternatives to meet the country's needs, and we will not remain idly by. His warning to these leaders were that people are losing confidence in their government, which is the worst thing, because if enough people lose confidence in their government, the people will rise all over again. His concern, and so is Ms. Blashart's, is that it would boil up to a point that the entire country would be tossed into chaos and it would become destabilized, where you have groups of armed people controlling different regions without no government. And we don't want that to happen. Anyways, that's it for now, you guys. Do me a favor, hit the thumbs up button. If you're not a subscriber, please do so, because when you do, it helps out the channel, and I surely do appreciate it. I'll catch you later. I'm out.